that I can barely speak. This pain keeps water in the sea. If I weren't so desperate to be free, I'd keep my distance, babe. The more that I know about you, the more that I want you, baby. They say that good love will yield the best from me. I know it to be true. This moment won't last forever. No remedies whatsoever. These feelings we choose to pass on for lesser love. You know it to be true. I'm lost in a manic dream. It weighs on me endlessly. Your tenderness drifts in the wind. The depth of your love is a sin. I'll keep my distance, babe. It's all by design, blinded in the fog of love. Why don't you tell me, baby? What are you dreaming of? Dreaming of? The more that I know about you, the more that I want you, baby. They say that good love will yield the best from me. I know it to be true. This moment won't last forever. No remedies whatsoever. These feelings we choose to pass on for lesser love. You know it to be true.
Coming to you from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network newsroom, I'm Guy Ticker with the strange news. Scotland's Calvine UFO mystery has been solved at last. On August 4th, 1990, two young chefs had been walking in the Cairngorms National Park near Perth when they spotted a strange diamond-shaped object in the sky nearby. Terrified, the men had hid behind some bushes to observe the mysterious craft. A short time later, they heard the sound of an RAF jet approaching. The plane seemed to change course. Said one, quote, "I discovered that the only other British Harriers were privately owned by BAE Systems, the defense contractor. They use their Harriers as multi-role defense test platforms, testing BAE advanced technology." He continued, quote, "I dug deeper and found that Maroney Advanced Materials, based inside BAE HQ at Wharton, Lancashire, were probably working on an advanced stealth skin material for the USAF. I'm Guy Ticker. The Strange News is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Do you have a strange story? Contact us at nightdreamstalkradio.com. At AaronJudkins.com, there is a question. Who are the Guardians of Gobekli? Göbekli Tepe, one of the most puzzling archaeological sites of the Stone Age. It is considered the oldest pre-pottery Neolithic site ever discovered. This mysterious site is changing our perception of the Neolithic, a time period just after the Younger Dryas event. Is there a connection to the heavens and the gods? Do its symbols represent the earliest known language? It's the paradigm that's changing the paradigm. Who are these guardians of Göbekli? Get the new book and find out. Guardians of Göbekli at www.aaronjudkins.com. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio, with Gary Anderson, syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
Well, good evening, everybody, wherever you are. And I tell you, I've been getting emails from Puerto Rico, from Spain, from Australia about tonight's show. We got a great show. Captain Paul Watson. You remember Whale Wars? Well, he's our guest here in the next few minutes. Well, I just want to say that I am still feeling the loss of one of our friends, one of our regular guests that's been on our show from day one, actually, Joe Taylor. He has the Fossil Museum in Texas. He passed away here a few days ago. That is a big loss. I'll tell you, the older you get, you lose a lot of friends, I'll tell you, and family members. So, James, it's a big loss yet, it's still in my head. We were ready to bring him back on again, and now he's, well, the other side, looking for fossils.
Yeah, oh, believe me, Joe was a friend. We chatted a lot about fossils and stuff, and he was a great guest. Listen, he's one of the nicest people that I ever met, really. He was a really truly a nice guy and a great guest. And yeah, he will be missed. I miss him already, and the fossil world will definitely miss him.
Well, scientists have actually revived a zombie virus from the permafrost in Antarctica. And this, if it got out to the public, if you thought COVID was bad, this would literally kill millions of people. Why are they actually trying to bring back viruses and stuff that they find in Antarctica? That is one of the craziest things. As the ice sheets are melting, viruses that our bodies, aren't immune to. It's bad enough that it could actually one of these days hit us anyway, but why would they revive one of those things? That's crazy, JC.
That's my question. Why are you poking the bear? Why are you messing with this? Listen, there was a guy just 3-4 years ago that was permafrost was down digging, and it soaked in, and he got a big thing on his knee. It would have killed him if he hadn't got it taken care of. And barely, listen, he felt it for a few months afterwards.
Well, Chinese scientists, blame the Chinese on this one, actually have figured how to grow mini antlers on mice using stem cells from deer.
Sounds like they're trying to mess with jackalopes. I mean, come on. Why are they doing such things?
I don't know. Men with prostrate, they're really scared. Hint, hint. I don't know if you have gone for an exam yet, JC, but I'll tell you what. They have found a breakthrough, and maybe the next 6 months, once it gets approved by our government, no more hands up the where.
No more airport inspections. Yeah. Listen, some of these breakthroughs, listen, that's great. That's great news for a lot of people, for sure.
UFO experts say alien mothership could visit Earth at any time. Trust me.
Oh.
Trust me. It's coming from the UK.
Listen, we've heard a couple of guests over the last few years that were talking about some big motherships that are supposed to be coming.
Oh, yeah. Well, you never know. But, again, I got an argument over the weekend with one of our regulars, going through our website and fast blasting me. he said that, the ETs have kept the world from being, nuked and all this stuff, and they've done so much for us. And I said, what have they done for us? Look, we've been having wars from, beginning. We've been having diseases from the beginning. We've had COVID. We got killing going on in Ukraine and the Middle East and Africa, everywhere. And they haven't stepped in and done anything. And then I didn't hear anything more from them. You know what? A 59-year-old proves you can actually be young again just by exercising. Now, I saw the picture, and I'll tell you what, he makes Arnold look quite small nowadays, and this guy's 59 years old, and he's killing it.
I just seen a report yesterday. They come out, you do exercise 11 minutes a day can really extend your life, they're saying now.
Oh, so. Yeah. And that, another thing, a new study has come out saying that, your cell phone, 5G, the microwave radiation is causing cancer. Now, they're getting ready to come out here eventually with 6G. Yeah, you're right. And I was reading about that. We had a guest on just last week or so that they still don't have a cell phone because they're afraid of that. Well, I tell you what I like to do with mine, but nowadays you can't live without it. Well, a man gets lost in the Amazon for 31 days. He survives by eating worms and drinking his urine.
Oh, that's not, I don't know how you could even, if your urine was meant to drink, now I'm not even going there, but it's just awful. I'm glad he survived.
Yeah. Well, did you hear about the man in Florida? It's always about Florida, isn't it? With the snakes and stuff. Well, this man found a clam, a massive clam. What's he do with it? He makes clam chowder with it. And, when he took the shell and showed it to an expert on this, a marine biologist, they figured that clam was over 200 years old and could have been worth well over $1 million. Yeah, some of them clams have a lot of pearls in them too. The one that big sounds probably dead. Who knows? But oysters have. Oh, pearls. That's right. Clam, but that's a shame. That clam was probably 200 years old, and then it gets eaten one day. Over 200 years old. Well, it better been damn good clam chowder. I'll tell you that. It's expensive. Yeah. Well, we're going to take our break, and then we're going to have Captain Paul Watson on. It's going to be kind of interesting here tonight because we're going to talk about, again, slaughter of whales is going on. And then we're going to talk about what's happening with him. And it's really interesting. He's being sued. And I tell you, it's shocking when I found out who's suing him. So we're going to talk about that with Captain Paul Watson. So get yourself, that easy chair. Put a log in that fire. Prop up your legs. Pour yourself a warm one. And let's go for that ride here tonight on Night Dreams Talk Radio. So we'll be right back.
Take a journey of adventure and discovery for the enigmatic giants of the forests. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. The author himself describes it this way. Having found possible Sasquatch evidence, namely trees driven into the ground upside down, thought to be territory markers, led me to investigate this creature in my native Ohio. Several years and many forays into Bigfoot territory, I have found incredible evidence which inspired my book, On the Trail of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is alive and has many fantastic abilities. The evidence is out there for all to see, but you need to know what to look for. My book will inspire those who have answered the call to seek this elusive creature, the Bigfoot. The truth is out there. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. Available now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and IndieBound.org. My name is Marlowe, Private Eye. I just got a call from Captain Watson from the Hollywood Police Department. He says, Marlowe, it seems we have another strange murder. This time it's a truck driver with a load of cereal. So, I got in my 57 Edsel and drove to where the truck was located and met with the detectives, and they were puzzled. I checked over the semi-truck, and it was filled with boxes of cereal. I called the captain and said, it must be the serial killer. Another case closed.
And we are back. We're waiting to get Captain Paul Watson on the line. We had him, and high producers, trying to get him on here. And, did you get a hold of him? There he goes. There we go.
Yeah, he should be calling.
Well, Captain, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now. Yes.
Yeah, that happens. You blame it on the atmospheric conditions of the plane of the ionic sphere. Strange things can happen.
Yes. Yeah, I had a computer crash and take another 7 minutes before it reboots. So I'm on the phone.
Okay, that happens here quite often, actually. Well, how have you been since the last time we talked to you, my friend?
Well, I've been pretty busy, actually. Since the last time you talked to me, I've was dismissed from my own organization that I founded 45 years ago. And so I set up another organization, the Captain Paul Watson Foundation, and we've already secured a ship, and we're getting set to do a campaign to protect whales in Icelandic waters coming this summer.
Oh, wow. Boy, so the organization you founded 45 years ago dismissed you.
Yeah, they did. And it was a hostile takeover of the board of directors.
Wow. What is there, and again, I want to say when your computer comes up, just let me know and we'll go to a quick break and then we can get you on Skype where you sound better. What was the reasoning behind you're the founder, but you're the godfather by all means. Why would they do that to you?
Well, the problem is that when organizations get bigger, they start to attract a lot of people and people who say that they're going to help, in business matters and whatever. And it was a slow takeover. So this one man, Pritam Singh is his name, he, got involved. He was a businessman. And in 2019, he came to me and he said, well, we're having trouble getting directors insurance because, of your reputation. You're too controversial. And so to get directors insurance, we just need you to step off the board, but you're still part of it and you'll still be part of the decision making. And naively, I stepped off the board, and next thing you know, I have no control, and I wasn't invited to the meetings. And the directors that supported me were removed, and he put on new directors and then just took control. So what happened in June of 2022, they called me to a board meeting and said that they're going to change the direction of Sea Shepherd to be less controversial, less confrontational. They want to work with governments. They want to pursue science. And I said, well, that's not what I set this organization up for. I can't support this. I don't want to be part of it. And at that board meeting, this guy looked at me and he said, you're an employee. You do what you're told. And I said, I don't think so. So I resigned. But I was still a part of Sea Shepherd Global, so I wasn't too much concerned. But then Sea Shepherd Global dismissed me without a meeting, a discussion, or a vote because Sea Shepherd USA, this guy had gotten all the 70 trademarks registered covertly. And he threatened them. He said, well, I own you guys, and you're going to dismiss Watson, and that's it. And so I was dismissed from Global. And so that's the situation. It's pretty bizarre.
It sounds like he has some other motive, too, what he's going to do with this whole organization.
Well, he wants to put it in I think he just wants control. And he started scrapping the ships and working closely with the Mexican government. And then Sea Shepherd Global, they're working with these African countries. And I guess the problem is that working with these governments, they thought that my reputation was a problem.
Oh, wow. Yeah, if anything, you have brought so much attention. Let's be honest, people, that, you from Whale Wars got the attention that you needed. And then from Whale Wars to the Sea Shepherd Society, I mean, you've done a lot, to save our oceans, to, save our Earth. And then to go through this, it's a slap in the face, not just to you, to all your supporters that have supported, the organization all this time.
Well, it's even worse than that. I was told that I had no right to use the name Sea Shepherd, no right to use the logos that I designed. And in fact, they shut down my Facebook page for a month because there was a picture of me in front of a Sea Shepherd flag wearing a Sea Shepherd shirt. And they told Facebook that was a trademark violation. So I was punished for that. But I said, so, okay, that's fine. I don't need to use the name. I don't need to use the logo. We'll just restart again. But now they're suing me for using my own name. They're saying that my name is too closely linked with Sea Shepherd, and that means that it represents unfair competition and is causing irreparable damage to what they call their brand. And so that's what they're suing me for. I think we'll win the case, but it just costs a lot of money to defend it.
Well, everything costs a lot of money, Captain Paul. You know that. But again, it defeats the whole purpose of what has been established. Now, you mentioned scrapping the ships. What do you mean by scrapping the ships?
Well, our cutters that we had in Mexico, the John Paul de Joria, the Sharpie, and we had another vessel, the White Holly. They just scrapped them. They just sent them to the scrapyard, and our vessel, the Bridge of Bordeaux, they sold it, and I had no say in that at all. Anyway, that's all on the negative side. Let's stress on the positive side is I have established the Captain Paul Watson Foundation. And John Paul de Joria, one of our supporters, called me up and he said, well, what happened to my ship? And I said, well, they scrapped it. And he called them up and he said, well, it was old and we had to scrap it. And he said, well, why didn't you just give it to Paul? And they said, well, we offered it to him, but he turned it down. And I said to John Paul, that's a lie. That they never offered it to me. He said, well, find me a ship and I'll buy it for you. And he did. And so we have our ship, and it's a 52-meter former Scottish research vessel, similar to our vessel, the Steve Irwin. And we purchased that in September. And it's in dry dock right now, and it'll be ready for the campaign this summer to go and protect whales in Iceland. I'm not going to really spend a lot of time, fighting these guys except for where I have to, because I have to defend it in court. I want to continue my life's work, and I'm going to do it with my own foundation. And I thought, of course, using the name Captain Paul Watson Foundation I was safe there. Nobody's going to take that over. I didn't dream that they would actually sue me for using my own name, but that's the situation.
So you got your one ship and all that. That is really awesome that has transpired. So that tells me you have support. Are they going to be doing what the Sea Shepherd organization was doing? Or, are they going to back off what they were doing? And
well, yeah, they said I was too controversial, too confrontational. They want to work with governments. They want to work with corporations. They don't want to be critical in that sense, and that they completely changed the entire focus of this. Now, not all of Sea Shepherd. I'm supported by Sea Shepherd France, Sea Shepherd UK, Sea Shepherd Brazil. They're remaining true and loyal to the original objectives. But Sea Shepherd Global is now suing Sea Shepherd France, trying to say they have no right to use the name or the logo. So really, both Sea Shepherd Global and Sea Shepherd USA are spending donors' monies on lawyers to try to sue other Sea Shepherd groups and to sue me.
Well,
and it's really bizarre.
Well, I'll say this, Captain Paul, maybe you might get mad at me what I'm going to say. If people out there donating to the Sea Shepherd Society, maybe they ought to not put any more donations that direction and put the donation towards your new organization.
Well, actually, a lot of them are, but the problem is they control the supporter lists, which I don't have access to. So as people find out what's going on, they're coming to support me, but it takes time. But we're doing well. We're getting the support. I've got a whole crew of veterans that have served with me before. They're working on the ships. We're also looking at getting a second ship with another donor who wants to make that possible. So we're rebuilding the fleet. And one of the things I'm really concerned with is that Japan will return to killing whales in the Southern Ocean in a year or so. And the reason I believe that is they had 2 harpoon vessels down there doing so-called non-lethal research in the Southern Ocean this summer, or this Antarctic summer. And they're completing a $67 million construction of a new factory ship to replace the Nishan Maru. And there's only one place that they can use that, and that's in the Southern Ocean. So I anticipate they'll be going back down. So I'm working on building up, the vessels and getting the crew to be there and next year when they show up and to confront them once again. We drove them out of the Southern Ocean once, and we'll do it again.
Well, that is really alarming. Now, I'm going to take a quick break. Is your computer up where you can, during this break, you can call in?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll go to break and come back in about 2 minutes with Captain Paul Watson. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Stop the battle within your soul. You know it's all in your head. Being sad doesn't make you smart. It seems your heart just needs a fresh start. Just you, who's too proud to let go. All your enemies you keep trying to hide, they don't exist outside of your mind.
voice within me tells me don't go home. So I run until my feet give out. I jump a little higher to clear the ground.
Hi, this is Val Von Torn of Metatron Power and Light. You're listening to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams Talk Radio.
And check out through metatronpowerandlight.com. They got some great music. Check them out. And let's see if we have Captain Paul back here. Captain, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. I'm still on the phone. Unfortunately, I rang through it. Didn't answer.
Okay. Well, Skype sometime. I don't know what, again, computers. I get so frustrated. So one of the people in chat wanted to know what happened to the Bob Barker.
Oh, well, the Bob Barker was also scrapped by Sea Shepherd Global against my advice. They sent it to a Turkish scrapyard. And I was saying, well, why would you do that? We could have sent it to the Faroe Islands. We could have sent it to some place where it could be used. And, they seize the vessel, get a lot of publicity over it and everything. But no, they decided to send it to the scrapyard. So it was a very ignoble end to a vessel that I had actually secured for Sea Shepherd 10 years ago.
Wow, I bet Bob Barker is upset about that one. But yeah,
well, I think it did a lot of good during the campaigns we had it with whales and going after fishing, illegal fishing, and especially with the Chase of the Thunder, that 110-day pursuit of a poaching vessel from Antarctica to the equatorial West Africa. And it was the longest pursuit of a poacher in maritime history. So it had a great history, and I know that Bob was quite proud of that.
Well, here's the thing. What you're doing, again, you're starting from scratch. Are you going to be going out yourself on any of these?
Yes, I'll be captaining the vessel, the John Paul de Joria, this summer when we go after the Icelandic whaling fleet.
Question, have you missed being out there?
I do miss it, and one of the reasons that I haven't been there is because back in 2012, Japan issued an Interpol red notice against me for on the charge of conspiracy to trespass. It's interesting that the Interpol red notices are put out for like serial killers and major drug traffickers and war criminals. I'm the only person in the history of Interpol to be on there for trespassing. But that shows you the kind of power that Japan has. We humiliated them during the Southern Ocean by, interfering with them, and this is their revenge. I don't think they actually want me there. I think they just have tried to keep me from traveling. So I've only been able to go to France and the U.S. back and forth. But I think it's worth the risk to go this summer. And I'll be leaving with the ship from New York, and we'll head up to Iceland. And if they arrest me, then send me to Japan. Well, so be it. But I mean, you don't do anything in this world unless you take the risks. If you want to achieve anything, you have to be willing to take the risk. So I'm willing to take that risk.
Well, again, you mentioned about Japan, going to probably go back to whaling. You think about this, what gets me more than anything, they say research, right? And that is more than a slap in the face. I mean, how unintelligent do they think that we are? Research, that, if that's like the biggest lie you could ever have, to murder life. And that's what they're doing.
And they're doing it illegally. It's the Southern Ocean is it's called the Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary. You don't kill whales in a whale sanctuary. It's been condemned by the International Whaling Commission. It's been condemned by the International Court of Justice. We went to court against Japan in 2014, and the International Court ruled against them. They stopped whaling for 1 year and then went back again in 2015. What eventually stopped them is that we were cutting into their profits. I think we cost them over $150 million in losses because of our interruptions. For instance, in the 2012-2013 season, they only took 10% of their quota. So we saved about 6,500 whales during those campaigns. And but it looks like they're trying to get back to go there again, and we have to be ready to meet them if they do.
Now, for the people who don't understand what they do with the whales, okay, as I said, on the ship it says research, right? It's all research. Okay, we know it's research. Okay, what happens? They slaughter the whales, they cut them up, they package them up. Is it for research? Where does that whale meat end up?
So it all ends up in markets in Japan. It goes back. It's sold in restaurants and whatever. It's only about 1% of the Japanese people actually eat whale meat. But the thing is that the company, the whaling company, is owned by the government, and it has a board of directors, very highly paid ex-politicians. If they stop whaling, then these guys lose their high-paying position. And I think that's one of the reasons that's behind it. The other one is the unions that supply the crew to these ships is a Yakuza-controlled union, and of course they put a lot of pressure on the government too. But all whaling really in the world now is actually because of Japan. The whales killed in Iceland are sold to Japan. The whales killed in Norway are sold to Japan. And Japan is doing whaling in their own territorial waters, but they're now working to get back into the Southern Ocean where there's more whales.
Yeah, and what does whale meat go for?
I'm not really aware of the prices there. In fact, there's so much of it that has been brought in that it's actually being used to feed prisoners and school lunches and different things like that. And now they've actually installed these machines in Tokyo where you can actually put in your money and get the whale meat. It's like a Coke machine, but you get whale.
Yeah, it just it turns my stomach, honestly, because again, we're killing our planet. People don't realize it. Look at our oceans. They're being fished out. We're killing all life in our oceans. And, the plankton in our oceans are dying. People don't realize what happens down the road. I mean, we're not going to be able to survive as a planet if we keep destroying our planet.
Well, the single greatest threat right now to our survival, I believe, is this fact. Since 1950, we've seen a 40% diminishment in phytoplankton populations in the sea. 40% diminishment. That can be verified. Scientific American did a report on it. And phytoplankton provides up to between 50 and 70% of the oxygen in the air, much more than the forests of the world do. And it also sequesters enormous amounts of CO2. And it's being diminished. And why is that? And I believe the reason it's being diminished is because of the diminishment of seabirds and whales and dolphins and other sea life. Because these other species provide the nutrients for the phytoplankton, nitrogen, iron, magnesium. For instance, one blue whale every day defecates about 3 tons of manure that floats on the surface, and then that provides a nutrient base for the phytoplankton. So when you reduce the populations of those species that are producing the nutrients. In fact, the whales and dolphins are actually the farmers of the ocean, really. And what that means is a diminishment of phytoplankton. Now, if phytoplankton disappears from the sea, we die. It's as simple as that. We do not live on this planet without phytoplankton. It is the basis for all life on this planet. It's like, it's worse than wiping out all the forests on the planet. We absolutely need it to survive. And that's why I say constantly, if the ocean dies, we all die. And we have to become more aware of that interconnection we have to life in the ocean for our own survival.
Well, isn't there dead zones in the ocean which we didn't have back 40 years ago, 50 years ago? Isn't there areas that is dead where life is voided? I mean, because of all the garbage and pollution and what we've done?
Well, oceans are being polluted with plastic, with chemicals, with agricultural runoff. Agricultural runoff actually causes a lot of the dead zones. The meat production on factory farms actually produces so much stuff that ends up into the ocean. It's a leading cause of dead zones. It's a leading cause of groundwater pollution, and that it's not really being addressed. The oceans are being killed by humanity. And that's a fact. And, we have to do something. We have these conferences. Just last week, they passed a thing called the High Seas Treaty in the United Nations, and everybody was cheering. Okay, that's fine. But these treaties are worthless without enforcement. You can have all of the treaties and all of the agreements and everything, but if nobody's out there to enforce them, they mean absolutely nothing. I've attended environmental conferences from 1972, 1992, the climate change conference in 2015 in Paris, and everything that I've seen and heard at these conferences is all really great, but none of it has actually been implemented. It's not enforced. It means nothing.
Again, that makes me sick. So what's going on now with the fin whales?
Iceland is the only country that's actually targeting endangered fin whales, and they actually killed a blue whale 2 years ago. So the fin whale is an endangered species, and the only reason it's being killed is because this guy named Christian Lawson, who sort of a modern day Captain Ahab, decides that as long as there's somebody willing to buy whale meat, he's going to kill it. Iceland has said over and over again they're going to ban it, but nothing ever happens. Christian Lawson is the wealthiest man in Iceland, has a lot of control, and so we sank half of his whaling fleet back in 1986 and just his whale processing plant. We shut them down for quite a bit. But he has 2 whaling vessels left, and he's continuing to do this.
Wow. Again, I take it the whale meat then gets into Japan, doesn't it?
Yeah, they ship it over Japan. They ship it over the top of Russia into Japan.
And what else do they use the whale? I mean, when they slaughter and murder these whales, what is also used? Do they use the oils? Well, I mean, what is all used byproduct of the whale? Is this the meat nowadays?
It's just meat market for Japan, although a small fraction of it is actually sold in Reykjavik to tourists. American, European tourists come there so they can have whale steak. It's sort of an attraction, I guess, along with their puffin. They serve puffin in the restaurants there too. But that's a small part of it. Most of it all ends up in Japan.
So again, you plan to stop what's going on, or try to stop what's going on?
Yeah, we'll take our ship into the area where they kill the whales between Iceland and Greenland, and we will confront the whaling vessels in those waters. We're not actually going to enter Icelandic territorial waters. We'll be operating outside where they kill the whales. And our basis for intervention is the fact that whaling is illegal. The commercial whaling is illegal under the International Whaling Commission's moratorium on commercial whaling. And it's also an endangered species. And, I for the life of me, I don't understand why international bodies aren't going after Christian Lawson for targeting an endangered species. But that's what he's doing, and he's been getting away with it. Actually, back in 2019, I sent a vessel to intercept their operations off of Iceland. Much to the disagreement of Sea Shepherd, they were against me doing this. They didn't want to do it. They said it was too controversial. But I did it again, and it's probably one of the reasons why they were upset with me. But what happened is that when we got there, Iceland canceled their whaling. So it was a successful campaign without having to actually do anything. Now, it would be great if we show up again this summer and they cancel their whaling because we're there. That'd be, that would certainly be a nice thing to do. But if they don't, then we will certainly confront them.
Now, again, you're taking 1 or 2 ships to do this?
We'll be taking 1 ship, a very fast ship and everything. We're hoping to get 2, and we're trying to secure a 2nd ship. But I think we can do the job with 1 ship.
And then
we'll also have drones too.
Well, that's something you didn't have back when you were doing with Japan. You had a helicopter, didn't you?
Yeah, I have a helicopter, but drones are more efficient.
Oh yeah, nowadays, yes. What ways can you stop them? Okay, I mean, you don't use weapons. I mean, how do you stop them from doing their slaughter and murder? What tactics do you use?
I really can't go into that right now because, I would rather arrive there and do that than let them anticipate what I'm going to do. But I will say that, the most powerful weapon that's ever been invented is a camera. And the last thing that Christian Lawson wants to have is to have his ships be filmed doing this. Although I don't intend to film anybody killing a whale. I don't believe in watching this happen. So we'll directly intervene.
Yeah, I remember watching Whale Wars, and I'll be honest with you, I got sick. It really just made me want to vomit when I saw the blood running, off the ship. I mean, to me, it's slaughtering something that's beautiful. And like, again, we're destroying ourselves. And you know what? People in society really this time, they have a very short attention span, Captain Paul, and they forget about this stuff. And you have to remind them that you can't keep doing this. You know, you got the dolphins, you got all these other sea life out here, and they're being harvested. And one day there isn't going to be any whales. There isn't going to be any of that type of sea life left.
And they're not only threatened by whaling, they're caught in fish nets, the ship strikes. There's been a number of whales. I think 24 whales have washed up on the East Coast from Jersey up to Connecticut. And I believe the reason for that is the building of offshore wind turbines, because they're using pile drivers, which are, the decibel levels are so ridiculously high that can cause rupturing of the eardrums and therefore the navigational abilities of the whales. But there's an unusual number of whales washing up dead on these beaches. And, the wind turbines can be built without having to use pile drivers. They could use gravity concrete sinking methods to do that, but it costs more money. And so, it's really a question of money that they're not doing it the right way.
Interesting. Now, one question I have from one of the people on chat from iHeart is asking, why do porpoises and whales and stuff beach themselves?
Well, again, it comes down to their navigational abilities, and if you disrupt their acoustical abilities, then that can cause that to happen. Pilot whales do it more than any others, and we still don't know the precise reason why they do that. But it could be anything ranging from that the animals are poison because there's a lot of PCBs and mercury and everything that is in them. In fact, marine mammals have very high levels of toxic metals in their bodies because of the pollution in the ocean. For instance, the whales in the St. Lawrence River are actually, when they die, are disposed of as toxic waste. That's how high the level of toxins are in their bodies. So I think that whales will usually come ashore or beach themselves when they're dying or, having serious physical problems.
Well, how about where even porpoises, where a bunch of them will just beach themselves, and that's like suicidal.
Well, it's not really suicidal. It's just that they're dying, when they come ashore. Everything from, disease to acoustical pollution, noise pollution, which in the ocean is getting worse and worse. Plastic ingestion has killed quite a few whales. A sperm whale was found with about 150 pounds of plastic in his stomach. So there's so many factors that are affecting whales and dolphins in the ocean. Dolphins are still being herded in and massacred in Japan, Taiji, Japan. They're also being killed in, pilot whales and dolphins are being killed in the Faroe Islands, and they do that it's sort of like for fun. It's sort of part of, we've been doing it for 100 years, so what's the problem with it?
Yeah.
The problem is it's the 21st century, and this kind of thing shouldn't be taking place.
Can you explain to the listeners? And again, if any listeners out there have any children, maybe you might want to send them out of the room for a minute. But how do they kill these whales and these animals? How did they do it?
Well, they use explosive harpoons. That is, a harpoon with a grenade in it, which strikes the whale and then blows up inside. But it can take more than one or two of these explosive harpoons, and then it takes a long time, an average of about 20 minutes to die, even though they're hit with an explosive harpoon. One of the things Christian Lofson in Iceland is experimenting with is after he harpoons them to then electrocute them by putting a lance into the body and sending electricity through it. Again, it's pretty agonizing death.
Well, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I've seen a video of a person being electrocuted in an electric chair. Could you imagine a whale being electrocuted? Again, it's no compassion. That's what gets me. No. But how about these where they drive these animals onto the beach and they club them to death? Can you explain a little bit about that? Because I want people to realize what we are still doing today in 2023.
Well, in Taiji, Japan, they go out and they herd dolphins into the cove in this place in southern Japan. And what they're actually looking for are specimens to sell to marine aquariums, because they can get $250,000 for a dolphin. So they drive them all in, they decide which ones they want to capture and sell to marine aquariums, and then they massacre the rest and sell the meat. A lot of the meat is just actually sold to as food in many cases. But really that whole Taiji dolphin drive is driven by demands from marine aquariums around the world to get their hands on dolphins. So that, if marine aquariums would just stop buying dolphins, that would pretty much solve that problem.
Well, I've heard that the water turns red too.
Oh, the entire bay turns red with blood. The same happens in the Faroe Islands, where they drive the pilot whales onto the beaches and then spear and knife them, and the blood just covers the entire bay.
That is so sick that we still do stuff like that. I mean, again, isn't the whale population and the porpoise and dolphin population really decreasing largely?
I think everything that's in the ocean is decreasing, is being diminished at an alarming rate. We're overfishing, and now they're down in the Southern Ocean to exploit krill, that is zooplankton. And, krill provides the foundation for providing food to almost everything else in the ocean, especially to whales and penguins and that. And why are they going after the krill? Well, they're going to turn the krill into a protein paste, which is then used to feed domestic salmon on salmon farms, and also used to feed chickens and pigs on factory farms.
Yeah. Crazy. Society has gotten really crazy too. My wife was talking to a friend who's a biologist, and she was telling my wife, I wouldn't eat. This is what she told my wife. Don't buy salmon anymore, because they're finding, the radiation is getting really high on some of the salmon up in the Pacific Northwest, and it's coming from Japan.
Well, that's one problem. The other one is farm-raised salmon, which is heavily involved with antibiotics and chemicals. It's a very chemically antibiotic-intensive agriculture. And in fact, a farm-raised salmon doesn't even have that pinkish red flesh that wild salmon have. So to get that coloring, they actually put dye in the food pellets and then feed that, and so artificially dyeing the flesh of the salmon. But these salmon farms are insidious not only for that, but also for spreading, transmitting viruses to the wild salmon populations, because they're in concentrated areas, and the only reason they keep them from dying from these viruses by heavily dosing them with antibiotics and also this chemical to kill sea lice. But the sea lice and the viruses are then transmitted into the indigenous populations, the wild salmon, and that's causing a lot of mortality there. In addition, they're catching an incredible numbers of fish to feed these fish. So to raise one salmon on a salmon farm, you have to catch another 60 fish to convert to fish meal in order to feed to the captive salmons.
Yeah, and at this rate it's going, how long do you think it'll be before, finding a whale out in the ocean is going to be a novelty?
Well, I think that by 2050, pretty much all the commercial fishing operations in the world will have collapsed. They're already overfished, dangerously overfished, and some of the top fish biologists in the world are predicting that it's certainly not going to last very much longer. So the fishing industry is going to collapse, and hopefully the fish populations will recover from that. But what I proposed at the climate change conference in Paris in 2015 is that if we really want to protect our oceans, then the solution is really to do nothing. And what I mean by that is stop exploiting everything in the ocean. We've got to get rid of the gill netters and the longliners and the drift netters and the factory, the large super trawlers. Highly industrialized commercial fishing operations are really just all life in the ocean. Last year we found a super trawler south of Ireland, and they had taken a load of blue whiting, this rather small fish. But that wasn't what they were targeting. They were after something else. So what they did, they dumped it. 150,000 dead fish floating on the surface because they didn't want that particular species. So bycatch is a major problem. That is, they go out and they target a certain fish, but they catch all sorts of other things in the net, and that, of course, they're killed and they're dumped. For instance, for every kilo of shrimp that is actually caught and marketed, 22 kilos of something else had to die.
Yeah, and and in the nets, besides, if they're out looking for whatever type of fish, what other creatures, everything from porpoises to what all do they find in these nets? And also, I'm sure you found nets with just floating with dead fish in it, haven't you?
We have, but also down in the Southern Ocean, this one toothfish poacher, and toothfish, by the way, is marketed as Chilean sea bass. It's not a bass, and it's not from Chile, but that's a marketing term. But we found this one toothfish poacher, and we pulled up its net, and from 2 kilometers deep, that net was 72 kilometers long and weighed 70 tons. And that's just one net from one ship, which really illustrates the kind of technology that they're using. So it's extremely destructive. Right now, over the last 2 years, we've been fighting the French trawling fleet off the coast of France because they're killing enormous numbers of dolphins as bycatch in their nets. And one of the things that we've been doing is going out and documenting them, but also taking the dead bodies, the corpses, and we brought them to the Eiffel Tower. We brought them to the National Assembly, and just make everybody look. And here's what your fishing industry is doing. And actually, we're making progress there. The French government is actually looking into this quite seriously, and hopefully they'll crack down, because killing dolphins by the French fishing fleet is illegal under French law, and it's illegal under European Union law.
Yeah, that is, alarming that this stuff is going on. Now, you mentioned drones, and you know what you got going for you now more than ever, internet. So, I mean, you could sit there with these drones and show the people, as you're doing it, what is going on. I mean, that is probably the best, that you could offer. I mean, that's a major breakthrough. Let's face it, the drones, and be able to, fly right over and capture the slaughter, the murder of the sea life.
Yeah, that's how we actually were able to document the dumping of those 150,000 fish south of Ireland. But, we had a very successful TV show on Animal Planet called Whale Wars, and we reviving that beginning this summer with Iceland, and again next year in the Southern Ocean.
So will it be picked up by the same network, or hopefully?
Don't know which network here, but we've got a production company that'll be doing it. And since Whale Wars was the top show for a number of years on Animal Planet, that there will be, a market for it. And it's that was really very helpful in getting the message about illegal Japanese whaling into the living rooms of millions of people. So we're hoping to do the same.
Well, you opened up the eyes to a lot of people on chat here tonight on our show, and you opened my eyes up again. We got to take care of our planet, and the way we're doing it is despicable. I mean, everything from wars to climate changes, and people are in denial of what is going on, and a lot of this stuff is going on. It's man-made. Now, we're down to the last couple minutes. Do you want to share your new organization, society, and is there anything you want to tell the listeners?
Yeah, the organization is Captain Paul Watson Foundation, so it's easy to find on social networks or our website, which is Captain Paul Watson Foundation. But what I'd like to leave everybody with is this: an understanding of what the situation is. If you compare this planet to a spaceship, in fact, that's what we are. We're a spaceship on this incredible trip around the Milky Way. And every spaceship has a life support system, and that life support system provides us with the air we breathe and the food we eat and regulates climate and temperature. And the life support system is run by engineers. And those engineers range from bacteria to the worms to the fishes to the trees to the great whales. And they're the engineers that keep everything running within that life support system. We humans, well, for the most part, we're just passengers. We're having a great time amusing ourselves and entertaining ourselves. But what we are doing is we're murdering the engineers. We're killing them off. And there's only so many engineers you can kill before that machinery begins to fall apart. And we're seeing the effect of that right now. Climate change is one of the effects of that, but diminishment of life in the ocean, the diminishment of krill, all these things are because we're killing off the engineers that regulate and control all those life processes on this planet.
You know, again, before I let you go, you were one of the cold developers, of Greenpeace?
Yes, I was a co-founder of Greenpeace and was with Greenpeace from 72, and it started until 77.
And then you had the Sea Shepherd Society. I mean, you've done a lot to make people aware of what is going on. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you, and I'm sure my listeners want to thank you for what you're doing. And, you know, again, I'm very proud of what you have organized and have done for all of us, for humanity.
Well, thank you very much, Gary. Thank you.
Okay, my friend. Well, you have the rest of the week, have a good one, will you?
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on. Well, JC, what are we going to be talking about tomorrow on the show?
Well, tomorrow we're going to be talking about Göbekli Tepe. And listen, that's a very old site. They say, and it's one of the oldest sites on the earth. So this guy has a researcher, boots on the ground, written a book about it. We're going to learn all about it, the history, some of the languages that's connected to it, and why they built it, and different aspects about it. It's going to be interesting.
And then also, don't we have two guests on Friday?
We do have two guests. We got Dr. Stefan Schwartz coming back on, talking about remote viewing. And then the second guest that night is going to be Mike Dupler. He's going to come on and talk about some Bigfoot reports that he's, collected over the years. And
I want to, my heart goes out to Joe Taylor's family. Again, he had 11 children, big loss with him. And if you want to support Captain Paul Watson's new foundation, it's www.paulwatsonfoundation.org. And you can find that on Google. And again, we're not taking care of our oceans. We're not taking care of our planet. Amazon, they're just chopping trees down like nothing. If we lose the Amazon and we lose the plankton, it's going to be a series of people, dying off. So we don't have to worry about nuclear wars. I mean, if you look at 2050, it's not that far away. Well, it is for me, but for a lot of young people out there that listen to the show, it's going to be heart wrenching. We can't keep going on the way we're going. And again, it astounds me that we can take life and slaughter it for no real reason. I mean, do people really need to eat whale meat? Do they have to really eat porpoise meat? Think about that. What do you think, JC? I think it's sick. That's all I can say.
It is, and to make it even more astonishing is it comes out of a machine like a cigarette machine or something. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. Well, hey, I just ate some whale. Well, good. I hope they're a very intelligent species. Think about that. They are a mammal. We're a mammal. And, and the way we slaughter them and kill them is unhumane, let alone. But what really, really upsets me to see the word research on a ship.
Yeah.
And they're not researching anything. They're killing the whale. They bring it up and they cut it up and package it up right there. What research is that? And it ends up in the stores in Japan. I tell you what, before we do any more helping to Japan either, I think we should put our foots down in our Congress and Senate and say, hey, look, you got to clean up your act if you want more help. Well, till tomorrow, everybody have a good one. Yes, the show's only an hour long. It's going to be this week as I'm recovering from having things shoved down my throat, which, well, it was mechanical, and it was done by the hospital, not by by my wife. I can tell you that one. So everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side. So stay out of trouble.
I'm losing my mind. the sake of love. I've been trying to reveal it, what I've been so afraid of. Your coldness makes my heart go weak, so numb that I can barely speak. This pain keeps water in the sea. If I weren't so desperate to be free, I'd keep my distance, baby.